You're at the Coaching Inn, 3D Coaching's virtual pub, where we enjoy conversations with people who are engaged in the world of coaching.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Coaching Inn. Today we have two special things. We have Sarah Short as our guest, and we have a live audience, the other side of the glass. And so welcome to our live audience. It's really, really lovely to have you here. This is a trial. This is only the second time we've done it. So if you've got questions as we go, as we're talking, just pop them in the chat and we'll integrate them into our conversation. And yeah, what a lovely bit of tech that is, that we can do that. So we have 5 people in the live audience. I've got a little counter here. Sorry, it's very exciting. I will try not to get overwhelmed with the excitement of the tech. And I will say, hello, Sarah Short.
Hello,
Welcome
Claire
back.
Pedrick. Thank you very much indeed. This is my third visit to the Coaching Inn. I don't know why I said first. This is the third time we've been here. That's exciting.
It is, and it is always wonderful to have you here. And tell us a bit about you that people who've listened to the last 2 episodes with you don't know.
I got a second edition of my book out this year, still called A Coaching Business in a Book, because I tend to go with the Ron Seal naming conventions. You know, it needs to say on the front what it does. I kind of feel like that about most things, really. And what else? I am still living in Chester. I still have 2 little dogs. One of them is really quite old now. I am running an ICF special interest group called Marketing for Coaches. And honestly, otherwise, still talking to coaches about how to build financially viable coaching businesses. It's what I do pretty much all day, every day.
Nice. So that this isn't Groundhog Day, where are we going to dive into the Marketing for Coaches question? Insights, thoughts.
Let me tell you why it can feel like Groundhog Day. And why it's really helpful if coaches can willingly suspend their disbelief when it comes to talking about marketing. See, just that word, incessant. Femi's just asked a question, and he talks about the need for incessant marketing. So there's a negative connotation there. You don't talk about things that are nice as incessant, do you? So that, Femi, that was a perfectly timed question. So the reason that it's Groundhog Day is that most coaches, you know how people, in the main, people don't really know what coaching is, but they think they know and they're wrong. So coaches don't know what marketing is, but they think they know and they're wrong. And anyone who thinks that marketing is incessant is missing the piece that says it's actually absolutely brilliant. When you know what you're doing, the thing that our clients say the most is, I didn't expect this to be fun. I didn't expect to enjoy this marketing aspect so much. I thought it was like a necessary evil. That, it's just something I had to bloody do, that kind of thing. Whereas in actual fact, in the same way that coaching is an absolute delight, once you have your marketing process sorted, I can talk more about how that works. But once you've got that sorted and you know what you're doing and you know who you're talking to and you know what they need to hear in order to understand why they should part with a professional fee for your services, then it's actually enjoyable. And, is it incessant? Well, I probably wouldn't use that word. I'd probably use the word consistent. But yes, it does need to be consistent. And you are going to spend about
flow.
Absolutely. And you're going to spend about 30% of your time on your marketing. And the worst thing that you can do, especially if you get your marketing right and it's generating inbound inquiries and the people that are landing in your diary already know who you are, they know what you do, they understand kind of that you do it for people like them, and they know what it costs. All of those things should be things that they know by the time they land in a call with you. Then that's a working client acquisition process. And once you've got it to that point, what you don't do is go, oh, my diary's full, I'm going to stop marketing now for a bit. Because if you do, it's like taking your hand out of a bucket of water. It doesn't leave a hole in there waiting for you to come back and put your hand back in it. You're effectively putting yourself back by the duration of time that you do not market. Your audience aren't sitting there going, oh, when's Claire going to say something again? When's Femi going to say something again? They just you just disappear from their world. So how do you balance the demands of coaching? You accept from the get-go that 30% of the time that you're allocating to your coaching business is going to be spent on marketing.
And that's still true for me now.
Yeah. Oh, it doesn't change. I spend, honestly, I spend more than 30%, but then I really enjoy, this is marketing. And look how enjoyable this is.
Exactly. Exactly. I've always done 3 days delivery, 2 days development. And that's worked. And there are things, aren't there, about the 30%? Because as you're talking, it makes me really think about flow. And we talk about flow in the coaching conversation, but you're talking about flow in the arriving conversation. Yeah. And it's things like, isn't it, when you're off on holiday, leaving in your inbox a way that people can book a chat with you, so that you don't put the brakes on accidentally because you're on a beach.
Yeah. And the thing is that you can automate. Not all of most of your stuff, especially if you're going to go away, you can automate so that everything carries on as if you were there. But the secret, by the way, if you have a full coaching diary, you don't stop marketing, you start a waiting list.
Yeah.
A waiting list. How fantastic would that be? And, it's another misconception is if I know Eric, he's just written something very nice, but anyway, to carry on what I was saying, the other thing that I would kind of stress is that if you want a part-time coaching business, there isn't any such thing as part-time marketing. You're either marketing or you're not marketing.
Or you're not.
And so it isn't like, oh, well, I only have to do half of it because I only want to have half the number of clients of, say, Fred Blogs. You do the same thing. You just start your waiting list more quickly.
Yeah. Lovely comment, Eric. Really surprised to hear that Claire still markets. I assume clients would be lining up to work with her. Thank you for sharing that valuable insight. Claire also gets it wrong, FYI. Claire's coaching isn't always perfect. Let's just get that one nailed as well. I do have a waiting list for some things, but we market. But there are also things that we market.
Yes.
Lovely question from Shankar. As someone starting out now with no paid clients, what are the 20% activities which give me 80% of the results in terms of getting clients?
Okay, well, when you have no paying clients, so you're starting from the beginning, Shankar, what you're doing, so the work that needs to be done in order that you can market effectively is you need, and this is the Groundhog Day part, this is the part that I say over and over. I could create an avatar of me to just say this over and over again. You need to choose a target audience. A target audience and a niche are the same thing. So if you hear me talking about niching, I'm normally quite careful to make sure that I say a target audience and a niche are the same thing. So, for example, if somebody says to me, oh, well, I work with people who are stuck, that's not a niche. That's a problem that somebody within a niche might have. And the easiest way to kind of get your head around what's a niche is what if you were going to build an audience of people who look like this, what would you type into the search bar in LinkedIn to find people who look like the kind of people that you want to work with? Because if you write stuck, overwhelmed, mum, recently divorced, you're not going to get anything meaningful back. If you write overwhelmed, by the way, what you get back is thousands of coaches who say they work with people who are overwhelmed.
Yeah.
And most people, because they don't know what coaching is, but they think they know and they're wrong, they think, well, I don't need teaching, because everybody thinks we teach, don't we? We took the word coach, we used it. I mean, at the time, it was clever. In the mid-90s, wasn't it? It was a clever thing to do, to go, okay, well, there are sports coaches, and we're kind of like that, but for life. And so this idea of a life coach happened, but where sports coaches, let's say a basketball coach, will be excellent at basketball and will be teaching from their knowledge, that's not what we do at all. And if I could have a penny for every coach who's told me that they've had the conversation that goes, no, I don't teach. No. What I do is I ask questions and I listen really carefully to what you're not saying as well as what you are saying, and starts to describe the coaching process. And the person that they're talking to is like, why would I pay you for that? My husband could do that. My wife could do that. My mum could do that. My daughter could do that. My best friend could do that. Why would I pay you? In particular, why would I pay you a professional fee to do that? And the reason for that is that nobody buys processes. We don't buy processes. And anybody who's going to spend money with us as coaches needs to know, like, and trust us before they will do that. And that's what our marketing needs to build. It needs to build this know, like, and trust. So the know and like part comes from sharing small aspects of our lives to demonstrate that we're perfectly normal human beings. Like, here I am in London at the ICF Special Interest Group Leaders meeting, for example. Or here is a picture of my dog. What I don't have to do is overshare on LinkedIn. That is not marketing. That is oversharing on LinkedIn. And also, I don't need to describe the coaching process, because nobody cares about the coaching process, because we don't buy processes, we buy outcomes. So this idea of know, like, and trust, the know and like part comes from sharing carefully curated pieces of our lives. Nobody needs to know our blood group. Nobody needs to know our inside leg measurement or see our operation scars or our emotional wounds. They just need to see that we're ordinary human beings who do this job. And the trust part comes from being able to describe the situation in which they find themselves in a way that is knowledgeable, understanding, and empathetic. And in a way that says, hey, look, person, let's call them Alice, ideal client, Alice. Look, Alice, I know that you're in this situation. And I know that you would rather be in a situation where this didn't exist. Let's say I'm being overlooked for promotion. I know you would like to be in a situation where you get the next promotion that's going, rather than being continually overlooked. And I know how this problem is affecting you. I know how it's affecting your life. I know how it's affecting your relationships. I know how it's affecting your self-confidence and your belief in yourself, your self-esteem. And I also want you to know, Alice, that this isn't you. These feelings and these reactions and this behaviour that you're experiencing is perfectly normal for somebody in your situation. And I work with people like you, and I take them from here to here. This is what I do. That's a good marketing message. So, Shanka, what you need to do is you need to choose a target audience or a niche. You need to create an ideal client avatar. And so an ideal client avatar is the personification of the people in your target audience. So they are a fictitious person who embodies the things, the problem that the people in this sector have. Oh, this segment is probably better than sector. They need to be, a real human being with real in inverted commas, with an age and a job title, and all of those things. And then once you have there you go, Femi, persona in the agile world. Once you have your ideal client avatar, then the next part is to write this marketing message. And so what coaches fear that marketing is, and particularly when they use words like incessant, is that what they have to do is drag a metaphorical chair into the middle of a metaphorical stage, climb on it with a metaphorical megaphone and shout, "Buy my stuff." And that's
or even worse, Sarah, buy me.
Yes. Oh, yes. Absolutely. So the wonderful thing about good marketing is it's not about us at all. Nobody cares about us. What they care about is what we can do for them. And so I'm a coach stalker on LinkedIn. I can't believe I just said that out loud. So if I look through LinkedIn, and I'm followed by and connected to about 40,000 coaches now. And if I scroll through LinkedIn, I can tell you who's having success with the LinkedIn element of their marketing. If they're talking about, this is what coaching is, let me do a bit of humble bragging, I'm honoured and humbled to be working with these clients, that's not marketing. That's what they think marketing is. And actually what they're doing is posting. And honestly, the only people that like that kind of posting are other coaches who all leap into the comments going, "Oh, you're so vulnerable, you're so wonderful." And we're not marketing to coaches. We don't need coaches jumping into our comments and likes and what have you. And what you will find is that the majority of people, I don't even know why I said a majority, all the people who are marketing well, because the things that we deal with coaching, the kind of problems that people bring to coaching, they tend to have an element of shame attached to them, even when there's no logical reason for that. Even when it's the person who's going, "I'm being overlooked for promotions and I feel ashamed of myself. I should be. And that tiny little element of shame, even though we know there is no reason to feel ashamed, this is a normal situation that people find themselves in, but that element of shame will stop people engaging with your posts. So you can be posting and talking to your potential clients and empathizing with the situation and describing it. The trick, by the way, if there is a trick, the skill is a better word, is to use exactly the same language that they do. So if you are a lawyer who is being overlooked for promotion or a teacher who is being overlooked, those are different jargon, different language, different working spaces, different situations. And so the language that you use would be different for those two audiences. And you need to be able to speak your client's language. It's really important that you can describe the problem that they have using the same words that they would describe, because then they see themselves in what you're saying. And whilst people tend not to because they think that if they do, the whole world will go like this, and they'll turn and gaze at look, she's like that, and that means that she's struggling with this, and they feel like it's a public admission of inadequacy to engage with your post, so they don't. And that doesn't stop them reading them, though. And it doesn't stop them jumping into your inbox and going, "Hey, Claire, you wrote this thing and you're talking about me. Can we have a conversation?" And that idea of joining the conversation that is going on inside the head of your client around this one particular thing, it's an aspect of their lives. That is the trust part. That's really, really powerful. And we know, so the part that people then worry about is, well, I'm going to end up coaching one kind of person around one kind of problem for the rest of my career. And the reason that I like coaching is the variety. And so let's have a reality check on that. If we had 10 people starting coaching programs with us this month, And each of them had ostensibly come to us from, let's say, the legal profession because they're being overlooked for promotion. They are all completely different individuals with completely different experiences and beliefs and values and outside lives and all of those things. And also, what people bring in session 1 is very rarely what they're talking about by session 3. Even though that's what they think the problem is, by the time they arrive and they're coached and, the fantastic experience of being coached, they are all entirely different people. So we can't possibly get cookie cutter clients. It's not a thing.
Yeah. And it's interesting because there's also something about being realistic and a reality check about numbers. So Shankar, you were on the open table the other day with Andrew Richards and Jamie Furay-Higgins, and Andrew said, you're probably only looking at 40 people a year. So,
yes.
So there's a kind of fantasy, isn't there? And doing a little bit of maths on actually how many is enough doesn't mean we stop marketing, and it doesn't mean we stop doing the 30%, but it also means that we recognise that we're not in the business to get 100 people.
We're not John Lewis. We don't need 1,000 people a day through our doors.
No,
we
exactly.
don't. And numbers aren't really my bag, but the numbers that I use, like easy numbers, are if we wanted to earn £100,000 a year, which, by the way, you would not be doing in the first few years. You're not going to go from a standing start to earning 6 figures, because these people who say they can get you to 6 figures in 90 days, if that was true, everybody would have a 6-figure business. Let me say that again for the people at the back. If that was true, we would all have 6-figure businesses. So to replace a full-time income with your coaching is 2 years of good marketing, not 2 years of talking about coaching, not 2 years, but good focused marketing with a target audience, an ideal client, a marketing message, a marketing plan. At the Coaching Revolution, we start everybody off on LinkedIn. And then beyond that, where else do I need to be? Well, it depends who your ideal client is. Where are they? Because you only need to be where they are. And if they don't network, for example, you don't need to be at every small business networking event. If you're not working with small businesses, you don't need to be at a small business networking event. Where was I going with this? I've done that middle-aged lady thing of forgetting what I was saying. Easy numbers. So if you want to earn £100,000 a year and you have a package that's £1,000, you need 100 clients. Now that's a lot of clients. So maybe your package is £2,000, in which case you need 50 clients. But if we kind of spread that out, if you say, well, I'm going to work for another 10 years, so that would take me to nearly 70, then I'm going to need 1,000 clients over 10 years. Well, that's not a big number. And even if I was going to work until I was 80, I'd still only need 2,000. Those are not big numbers. The secret, and it's not really a secret, is to get your foundations right, to get this target audience chosen, to get this ideal client avatar nailed properly, the detail sorted, and then to create this marketing message, and then basically to talk to that person for as long as you want a coaching business.
Nice. Great question here from Jess. Sarah, what are your thoughts on newsletters as an effective marketing tool?
Okay, that is a great question, Jess, but it's a question that comes far down the line, because first of all, it's who are you marketing to? So if you know who you're marketing to and you know what they're struggling with that coaching can help them resolve, and you have a solid marketing message, then a newsletter which speaks directly to the kind of clients you want to work with is an effective tool. A newsletter that goes, hey, let me talk about coaching, and that's not effective, because people don't care about coaching. We care about coaching. We care very much indeed. But your ordinary, average, normal human, so not those with the superpower of coaching, they don't care. They don't care really what is going to take them from A to B. this part. They don't care. They just have a problem that they want gone. They want that to not be part of their lives anymore. And so it may be, for example, that so on LinkedIn, you can curate your articles into what LinkedIn calls a newsletter. It's not a newsletter in the normal sense of the word, like something that you would email to people. It's a curation of any articles you write. When you're doing that and you're writing articles for your very specific person, because once you've got this ideal client, by the way, you can literally forget about everybody else in the world. And the only person you need to talk to is that one ideal client. So what a lot of our coaches do when they start a newsletter is take your article and publish it as a newsletter, an email newsletter. So you've got your LinkedIn article, which is being created under a newsletter that's called something Ron Seal does what it says on the tin. Mine's called Build a Coaching Business. And literally email it to people, because it's something that they're interested in, because you know who they are and what they're struggling with. But we all have this belief that if we write something on, I'm going to stick with LinkedIn because we tend to all know about LinkedIn, but if we write something on LinkedIn, that everybody sees it. In fact, that we're quite fearful that everybody, oh my word, I wish everybody saw it. Attention is incredibly valuable. It's incredibly valuable, and it's very hard to garner. And that's why this being very specific is so important. Because if we're talking generically about we can help anyone who, people literally don't hear us. It's just noise. It's just more stuff in their LinkedIn feed. Whereas if you're talking very specifically to them, they'll go, oh, that's curious. She's talking about me. Now, a tiny percentage of your audience will see each of the things that you post. And so using that article that you've written, that you've, spent time and energy creating, using that somewhere else, the chances of the same person seeing it in both places are A, very small, and B, if you're talking about them, they don't go, oh, well, I've read this. They go, gosh, there's that thing again, and it's still talking about me.
Yeah, nice. Jess says, LinkedIn is my friend. So this is a really helpful insight.
Yeah, you're very welcome,
Jess, I think that's really interesting, because I think there's a real thing about where are these people?
Mm-hmm.
I had a message yesterday from somebody on LinkedIn, actually, who said, I noticed that you've left X, Twitter. Are you going to come over onto Blue Sky? She said, there are lots of people here. And I thought, Twitter did me a really good service for a lot of years, because I met some people in this industry with whom I still have ongoing working relationships.
Yeah.
A few people contacted me for work who I had known in other places and saw me on Twitter, but nothing else. So I'm not going back. I'm not going to another one of those things because now LinkedIn is where the people I work with are on LinkedIn too. So knowing where they are is a really useful thing, isn't it, Sarah?
We start everybody off on LinkedIn, even people who swear black is white that their ideal client is not on LinkedIn. Number one, they're wrong. I know somebody who started a dog walking business on LinkedIn, and I know somebody who markets their hairdressing business on LinkedIn. If they can do that, we can certainly market our professional service there. But the reason that we start everyone on LinkedIn, and just to take a step back from that, if I can stop people creating websites before they know who they're talking to, if I can stop people spending money on a website when they finish their coach training, that if that's the only thing you take away from this, don't create a website, because a well-optimized LinkedIn profile is far more valuable to you than a CV style website. Because what happens is coaches finish coach training school and they create these beautiful websites with lovely headshots and branding they've spent money on. And it says, this is me. This is my coaching philosophy. These are all the different kinds of people I can work with. This is how you contact me. These are my packages. And I have yet to meet the person for whom that's actually generated a client, because they don't care about us. They care about what we can do for them. So until you can create a website that starts off is this you? And goes into detail about the kind of person that you work with and the problem that they've got, then don't have a website. And people will go to LinkedIn to check you out. And a well-optimized LinkedIn profile is far more valuable to you than a CV-style website.
Yeah. It's the same with books, isn't it? I've met many coaches over the years who've gone, and I'm going to write a book. The average non-fiction book in its lifetime sells 350 copies. Books don't do, I think, what we think they're going to do.
They
unless
do.
we know what we're going to do with them.
And if you're writing them for somebody.
Yes. So David Roach, who came on and talked about his book, I think it's called The First Time CEO, he wrote it in order to give it to people who said they might want to work with him.
Yes.
After he had already met them. And that's a beautiful, specific thing. But they're not a moneymaker.
No. Actually, I'll tell you what. So my second edition of my book came out in February, and I've sold a couple of thousand copies of it. I put it on Audible, and I've sold many more thousand copies of my book on Audible. So people obviously much prefer to listen to books than to read them these days. But my book is written for the coach who is struggling to build a coaching business. That's who it's for. Stella Hewitson, who is my made up fictitious avatar lady, who is a coach who can't make her coaching business work. Everything that I do, I create for Stella. I don't have to think about anybody else. You know, I run my challenge, Nail Your Niche. I run it 3 times a year, and I created it for Stella. And I wrote both of my books for Stella, and all the programs that we develop them for Stella, because if they're right for Stella, then they suit coaches who want to get serious about their marketing, because it's a big piece of work.
Nice.
If you imagine a weighing scale, like an old-fashioned one, of the 2 skill sets that your coaching business needs, on one side you have your delivery skills, and that's not just your coaching qualification, it's any practitioner certificates, facilitation certificates, personality profiling tools, NLP, Gestalt, all of that goes on the one side of your scales, and those are not marketing tools. They are delivery tools. And then on the other side of your weighing scale, equally important, are the skills that you need to create the opportunity to do that delivery. And those are predominantly marketing and sales skills. Although if you do this marketing properly, by the time somebody lands in your diary, they're there in your diary, in the conversation with you, because they want a sanity check. Are you really this person that keeps talking to me directly, just to me? So they know who you are, they know what you do, they know who you do it for, they know what it costs. This whole keep your pricing secret thing that coaches do makes my brain fry. But they know all of those things, and they're in that conversation to just check you out. So there is no sale. It's a true chemistry session. Are you the person I hoped you were? And of course, because we're not anything, we don't pretend to be anything that we're not in our marketing. We are very authentically us. Of course, we're the person that they've come to know, like, and trust.
Yeah. Nice. Thank you. So, question from Carolyn. How can you effectively optimize your LinkedIn page, Sarah?
That is a very good question, Carolyn. Rather than, I mean, I can describe it to you, but I can also give you some coaches to go and have a look at, so you can see a well-optimized LinkedIn page. So the most valuable piece of internet real estate for a coach is what they call a headline on LinkedIn. So you have your name, and then underneath your name, you have the headline. And that's where coaches put things like ICF-ACC or EMCC. Like, nobody knows what a coach is. They sure as hell don't know who our professional bodies are. And that, saying that you're a fully qualified coach, that is the biggest waste of that piece of internet real estate. And the reason I'm calling it internet real estate is that if you comment on something, the first part of that headline is what people see. They see your name in the first part of your headline. So it should say who you work with, so that people can, that's me. I'm one of those. So that as you kind of, go around LinkedIn and maybe comment on something or like something or write something, they will see that piece of that headline. So that's probably the biggest thing, is making that useful. But a well-optimized LinkedIn profile has the about section isn't about us at all. It's about what we can do for our clients. Our content is utterly consistent. It's consistent in terms of message. It's consistent in terms of visibility. So you can go and look at my LinkedIn profile. You can go and look at Sarah Klein's LinkedIn profile, or Helen Clare's LinkedIn profile, or Paula Sheridan's LinkedIn profile, or in fact, any of the Coaching Revolution mentors. And rather than frantically scribbling the names down, if you go to my website and go to the About Us page and scroll down, you'll see all the mentors, and there's a clickable link to their LinkedIn profiles, and they have well-optimized LinkedIn profiles. And the people say, well, I'm looking at this, but it's obviously not going very well for her. There's no engagement. But as previously discussed, we're all marketing to somebody who's got an element of shame attached to the thing that they're struggling with. So where you see the connection, so my most engaged post ever was a picture of a bottle of red wine and 2 glasses on a table in Italy with like stunning Italian scenery in the background. This bottle of wine had cost me €1.69, and it was beautiful. And I shared that. And that's safe to comment. Oh, yes, lovely, beautiful Italians, because there's no danger in commenting on something like that. So that's when you see people come out the woodwork, when you have what I call a safe post or something slightly personal. Dog pictures, cat pictures, that kind of thing sort of, I guess, flushes out, in inverted commas, people that are following you. You get to see them.
Sarah Klein came to a coaching in a long time ago, and we're connected on LinkedIn. And of course, nobody's going to ever comment on her thing if they meet her criteria, because there's a lot of shame in the people that she's talking to. But they're really good posts, good posts.
And what's interesting, so Sarah Klein works with midlife women in the public sector who have lost their mojo. They're knackered. That's the word she uses, which she knows is very divisive. She calls it a Marmite word. Then that people who that word absolutely resonates for will be attracted by it, and the people who are not attracted by it probably wouldn't be a great fit anyway. So that's why she uses it. But she is absolutely consistent in talking about this midlife squeeze, the aging parents, the big job, the kids, the teenagers, and doing all the thinking for all the people. Very, very, very good and effective marketing. And what's interesting about Sarah Klein's marketing is that where I am the most extroverted person you're ever going to meet in your life, Sarah is the most introverted. And yet her marketing is beautiful. And the other thing is that coaches look and they go, well, where's your marketing? I don't see any marketing. I just see a load of posts about. That's because you're not the target audience. You literally don't see it. You won't see all the people on my, that I've listed, Paula, Jen, Liz O'Neill, Helen Clare, all you wouldn't look at that and go, oh, that's marketing. Because if it's not aimed at you, and like marketing shouldn't be aimed at coaches. And we all tend to be connected with thousands of coaches on LinkedIn, and we all talk about coaching and coaches engage in it. That's not marketing, that's posting. And it's different. And unless you understand it's different, you can spend a long time getting really frustrated because you're writing on LinkedIn every day and it's just not working. And it's because what you're doing isn't marketing. Good marketing, effective marketing, is always focused. If it's not focused on a particular target audience, it's not marketing.
Thank you, Sarah. I'm just wondering if there are any more questions from our lovely audience as we begin to wrap up. This is going to be broadcast, Femi, in about 3 or 4 weeks' time on at the Coaching In podcast, so you'll be able to listen again. So Carolyn's question: do you exclude good clients with that focus?
That depends what you mean by good clients, Carolyn. You cannot market to everybody. That's not my opinion. That's a fact. Let me explain why, and I'll do this in as few words as possible, Claire. You know, so it's to do with your reticular activating system. But if you're standing in a crowded room and everybody's talking, there's like a hubbub of noise, and you can't really hear all the different conversations, but you can hear that everybody's talking. And somebody over the far side of the room calls your name, you'll hear it. Because your reticular activating system is polling for things that are relevant to you. And that's what happens with your clients. The reason that your clients will see your marketing is that they are polling for things that are to do with them. And so, what's a good client? A good client is somebody who knows what you do, who is happy to pay your rate, and who thinks you're the best thing since sliced bread because you can help them resolve their problem. That's a good client. You cannot get a good client unless your marketing's good. So does it exclude people? Yes. Does it stop other people coming to talk to you? No, because if you market to lawyers, you may well find yourself in a position where somebody says, Claire, I know you work with lawyers. I'm an accountant. But apart from that, everything you're saying, it is about me. Do you work with people like me? And then you get to choose.
Yeah, and we can't work with everyone.
No.
None of us, ever. I had somebody come to me the other day and we had a really long conversation, and it wasn't that long, 15 minutes. And I said, it was deep. And I said at the end, I don't think it's me. This isn't me.
Mm.
And then I told her who I thought it was. And I got a message on yesterday and it said, I've just had my first session and I wanted to say you were very close by because it felt like you were part of my discovering this coach. It was beautiful, beautiful.
Mm.
Because we can't work with everybody for 1,000 reasons. Probably 10,000, you'll say, Sarah.
Well, yeah, and if rather than thinking about, what about the other 8 billion people in the world who might benefit from my coaching, spray and pray, like I'm going to try and talk to all of the people about all of the different things that I can do. That's not marketing. And like, if you want some homework from this podcast, if you go and look at adverts, so we see them on print media, on social media, on the telly, on the radio, every single one of those ads will have a target audience. Have a look and see if you can figure out who the target audience is. There's a reason that Rolex markets in GQ and Vogue and not in Woman's Weekly. There's a reason that they're there, and that's because that's where the people who are most likely to buy their product also are. And that's how marketing works.
Yeah. Well, Sarah, thank you for coming back to the Coaching In. There's a couple of previous episodes if you want to search anyone on the Coaching In on any of the major podcast platforms where Sarah's spoken before. But really appreciate your time, Sarah.
You're very welcome.
Thank you to our lovely live audience, and also thank you to those of you who are listening at home or walking or wherever you are. Do you have a final word, Sarah?
My final word would be, if you can let go of your desire to work with anyone who, insert whatever you want after that, and focus your attention, you will be successful as a coach. And I'll tell you what, Claire, nice. I will give you a link for a free PDF version of my book in which I talk about all of this from the beginning to the end, everything that you need to do. I'll give you a link and then you can put it in the show notes, if that's all right.
Brilliant. So there's a gift, everybody. Thank you for coming to the Coaching In. If it's your first time, you can find us on all of the major podcast platforms once a week on a Wednesday, with open tables sometimes on a Saturday. Lovely to have you here. Do follow or subscribe if you want to get it as it drops. Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, everybody. And thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, we'd love you to share the podcast with a friend or leave a comment on social media. And if you'd like to become a regular at the Coaching Inn, you can subscribe on Podbean and all major podcast channels. We look forward to welcoming you next time. You've been listening to The Coaching Inn, 3D Coaching's virtual pub. For more information, check out 3dcoaching.com.